So this is my coveted seed box, and it has gone through many changes over the years. Before that, it was a shoebox. Now we've graduated to an actual box that I got from the store. But even now, and that's not even all my seeds. Yeah. So let's talk about what seeds are good to be planting right now if you live in a zone similar to me and you have a little less than 100 days left of a growing season before the first frost. So I have some kale here. This is 1,000 head kale from Baker Creek. I haven't had any success with it yet, but I'm going to try it again. Same can be said with the M.I. Gardner Scarlet Kale. I haven't had much success with that, but this is Botanical Interest. I really like their pictures on the front, and I've always had success with their seeds so far. And I've grown the lacinato kale, or the dinosaur kale. I believe this is the dwarf Siberian kale. That's red Russian, and I actually never grew these two varieties. So maybe I'll get those two out of this batch. We'll see. Sticking with the brassicas, we're going to also be putting into the ground some... Oh, where'd it go? I just had it. Oh, here it is. Oh, and it's covered. There we go. I'm going to put some broccoli in the ground along with some cauliflower. And you can tell how much time you have because usually every seed packet will tell you how many days are left before that plant matures. And if your plant is frost tolerant, like most of these are anyway, you're not going to need to really worry about those days. But you are going to want to act as soon as you can because time is running out, believe it or not. I'm also going to be planting some rutabaga, which I grew 3 last year, and they didn't get very big, but I'm going to try again, and maybe if we plant a little earlier, I might get more success. I've got some beets already in the ground, but I am going to do a succession row of more beets. This is a variety pack, but I also I got a Ruby Queen. This is from Gurney's. I like to plant Swiss chard in with the beets. They're actually from the same family. So I'm going to put those in. Love Swiss chard. And I have another beet. Where is it? Here it is. Boulder beet. I actually don't know if I'm planting this right now. I have no idea. I was surprised to find this in my seed box. It wasn't in the spot where I typically put my beets. So I think I got a little lost. I regret not having any of the golden beets this time around. I tried to grow them before and I had little success, but I think it was because I planted them out of season, so that was my mistake and I never bought another packet to replace it. Let's move on to some squashes. So we're going to be growing this. This is a crookneck squash. Really love the flavor of this kind of a squash. And the great thing about these squashes is if I were to grow these earlier in the season, I could let this go and it could be a winter squash if I wanted it to. But I really like them as a summer squash. This is another type of squash. I call it a tiger stripe. It's San Pascal. I don't know what the English version of this variety is, but we've got that. I also have Black Beauty, my mom's favorite, and just a dark green zucchini squash. And then here's one that's really full of whimsy. This is a patty pan squash, super buttery. Love the flavor of this. And just look at the fun shape. Like if you have kids, this is a fun squash to grow because the kids will love the way that it's growing. It's just a fun shape. And who knows, maybe your child might be brave enough to eat it. I know my kids will just eat things straight out of the garden like a rabbit, but that's because we've been gardening almost their entire life. Their entire lives, I should say. And then last but not least, this is another fun one. This is called an 8-ball zucchini, and it's obviously just a round ball. So instead of an oblong one that you would get, typically you get, pretty long skinny ones. This one grows purposefully to be in the shape of a ball. I like these because they make a great stuffing zucchini. If you like stuffed peppers, you can replace the peppers with zucchini and do the same sort of thing. I actually do like myself a little bit of a gray squash, which I don't have a variety of, but I have made a Lebanese dish. I forget the actual name, but you put ground meat and rice and tons of seasoning inside of a hollowed out zucchini. I think it would be much easier to do that with an 8 ball. So that way you're not digging like 7-8 inches into a oblong shaped one. So those are going to be the zucchini. Let's move on to our herbs. All right, definitely going to do more marjoram, more sage, a couple of varieties of basil. This is a sweet basil, but I'm also going to try my hand at a lime basil. I was not successful at any of my lime basil coming up. So we're going to try that again. And dill. Going to do dill again. It won't get to flowering, but that's fine because I can still use the foliage all throughout the year. And then last but not least for the... Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's one more after this. Parsley. Definitely going to do some parsley. Mine died when it got a little too hot, but now that it's going to get cooler eventually. Now we're at like our peak of heat. Hopefully it gets cooler from here. We'll see. And then last but not least, cilantro. Speaking of the heat. These are quick to bolt, but I'm going to be experimental with this. There's actually no date on here for maturity on the seed packet. It will tell me that it's going to sprout up to 10 days it'll take to sprout, which will give it enough time for the weather to cool down a bit, but we're in the heat of July. It takes a while. Also in the herb section, lovage, I had one come up and it is still so tiny. It's like that big. And these are supposed to get up to almost 6 feet tall. So I'm going to try again. I have no idea how these go. This is going to be my first year growing lovage anyway. Thyme. I have thyme in the garden, but just regular thyme. This is orange thyme. So I'm going to have that for maybe a good fragrance. And that's all I have for my herbs. Let us move on to, I guess, like our miscellaneous. So I'm going to be growing some dragon tongue bean, just a few of them. I heard these are the most delicious, according to James Prigioni. These are his personal favorites, so I had to try it. We live in New Jersey, just like he does, and I thought, well, this is a great climate, because if it works for him, it must work for us. So I must have missed these when I grew all my beans earlier this year, and none of them are dragon tongue so far, so oops. I also want to put in the red Malabar spinach. Technically also known as a Chinese spinach. It is not a spinach at all. It is actually just a, I don't really know what this is related to, but I can closely associate the flavor and the look of this to purslane, if you've ever had purslane before. Purslane is a mucilaginous sort of leafy green, and this is as well, only it vines. And you can eat the fruit as well, but I'm mostly growing it for the greens. And you can put it in soups, you could eat it raw, put it in salads. Just a great green to have around, and it does wonderfully in the heat. So when other things are bolting like a true spinach, you can have Malabar spinach in its place. Along with greens, I'm going to try my hand at bok choy again. This is tatsoi. I really love the tatsoi particularly. It grows in a rosette. So instead of like a big clump that's like, a stalk or a bunch of bok choy, this grows really low to the ground, which is wonderful for space. For say if I have a lot of space down low and I've got too much vertical plants going on, this would do great. It's like almost like a ground cover in a way. So I'm going to grow those. Now I'm going to have a few cucumber varieties. We're going to do pickling cucumbers. These are called Early Fortune cucumbers. These are from a seed swap I did with some friends that I hosted early this year, my very first seed swap. And she gave these to me. Now, I don't know if the name is indicative of the time I'm supposed to use these, but it's a cucumber. So I was told, according to M.I. Gardner, that now is a good time to plant another round of cucumber. So regardless of the name Early Fortune, I'm going to do it anyway. And then last thing I've got here, oh wait, there's one more after this, sorry. Mexican sour gherkin cucumber. So these are cute little like watermelon looking cucumbers. And they are, I mean, no lie, they are like this big. And I have not had success with them, sadly. They do grow up a trellis, so if you want to have these in your garden, it's wise to make sure they climb up something, because it can be really hard to find them when they sprawl out all over the ground. This is probably another good one if you have children, because kids just love the whimsy of seeing things that they don't see at the food store. And this is definitely something we don't have at our food store where we live. And the last thing, this isn't even for me, for my cats, some cat grass. They love cat grass, and I actually never grew it outside because my cats are indoors. But we have a cat next door that loves to hang out in our garden, and I'm perfectly okay with, as long as they don't go in the potty there, because they chase away the squirrels. She chases away the groundhogs, so I'm very thankful for that. And so in return, I hope to plant some of this as a little treat. And there you have it, guys. That is what you can grow right now in your garden so you can keep growing some food and have some lovely meals for your family in the days to come, in the months to come. Thank you guys so much for watching. Catch you on the flip side. Peace out.